uh, late night live chat. Well, this week has been very busy week because my daughter is back, so have to run around, go shopping, go makan, and all that. Okay, so we are back for some policy discussion. Well, there are a lot of things happening. Of course, today's our main theme is actually addressing the fertility rate issue by looking at the housing policies. But before that, talking about housing, of course, we are also looking at property transaction. Well, Mr. Shamugan uh, is a great investor, I would say, right? He bought his good class bungalow at a 6 S Street Avenue, I think, at a very low price, 2003 SARS period, definitely very low price. In terms of per square feet, it's even lower than my HDB flats, which were bought in 1997 at a high. Huh? Well, my HDB flat, a bigger 4 room flat, right, 110 square feet, right. I bought at 310,000 back then. A lot of money already. It was about 270 or more per square feet. But Mr. Shamugan bought his good class bungalow. If converted into per square feet, is about, I think it should be about 34,000. Okay, 34,000 square feet or so. Per square feet is only 255. I did the calculation. Or even lower than me. Wow, he really got good bargain at that price. I tried to look at some data, past data on that period of time, right? I think most of the good plus bungalows were selling something like at least $320 to 500 plus, right? 400 plus, 500 plus per square feet, right? Because it's SARS period. Now, some developers bought a big plot of land split into 16 bungalows, right? That big piece of land, normally you buy in bulk, you should be cheaper, right? But it's still more than 255. It was something around $320 per square feet. Well, so he got a good bargain. He's really a good investor. Always look for a good bargain, whether you buy good class bungalow or whether you rent a big piece of land. Wow, 200,000 square feet. Very wrong, right? At $26,000 only, right? Wow, he always got good bargain. Then when he sell his bungalow, which is 2023, up to now, after TOCs have actually talked about it, right? Which is transacted in 2023, right after he addressed the parliament about the Red Out saga. Well, at 88 million, he bought his bungalow at slightly less than $8 million in 2003. So he sold in 2023, that's 20 years later, at $88 million, right? Net gain. So he gained $80 million from this transaction within 20 years. I must say, he's a good investor. Right? Buy low, sell high. That should be it. I think those who are running the Temasek Holdings and GIC should learn from him, because when you do a compounding rate of return over the 20 years, that's actually more than 12%, nearly 13% compounding interest, compounding returns, right? Per year. Yearly return is a compounding rate, is almost 13%. GIC and Temasek, right? Temasek once used to boast about 18% return, but that is because most of the GLCs was privatized and transferred to Temasek at a very low price, right? But on average, I think they only can manage about 6% or 8%, sometimes even lower, right? So, who is the best person to run Temasek and GIC, I think Shanmugam should fit the job very well because he have a very sharp eyes for good bargain. And not only buy good bargain, but must sell high, right? Must sell high. Now, um, we have policy discussion group, okay? So someone was asking me, oh, what's wrong with people selling high, this and this? Well, there's no problem if you are a private citizen, but when you are a political office holder, then it must be declared your assets, of course, supposed to be declared to the Prime Minister office. Then when you sell, this one must be very careful also, right? You must make sure that the valuation of your property is properly done, right? Not in as you don't sell in excessive amount from the valuation, right? In HDB terms, is called actually uh, in excess. There's one term for HDB, lah, okay? But that is okay, right? But when we look at it, we were talking about property tax and all that. If we still maintain the capital gain tax at 20%, this transaction we have $80 million profit from the time he bought and the time he sell. The net profit is actually 80 million, about so. Right? Okay, lah, maybe you minus the transaction price and all that. Well, slightly less than 80 million. If we get the 20% capital tax, it will mean that Mr. Shanmugam would have need to pay $16 million as property capital gain tax. But this capital gain tax was removed, right, some time ago, quite a long time ago, right? And in place, we want to cool down the property market. We use additional buyer stamp duty, ABSD. Someone was asking me, what's the difference? Good, right? ABSD actually also good, right? But I can tell you, the fairer tax or mechanism is actually capital gain tax. Why? Because for those who already have owned a property, for example, right, they will have net gain, right? But those who want to buy private property, so-called, they have to pay in excess. The buyer actually pay the tax, not the one who sell and already gain from the property transaction to pay the tax. Stamp duty is a kind of tax, right? So this is one thing. So if you want to be fair, you can set a law, not including HDB, right? You can set a law on capital gain tax, maybe on the PRs who sell HDB flats, right? If they gain from the sales, they have to pay the 20% capital gain tax. And it prevents people from, or PRs, foreigners, because HDB is supposed to be our home, not supposed to be an investment assets or used for property speculation, right? That's part of a concept. So we will prevent foreigners like PRs. PRs are foreigners, although PAP likes to regard them as residents, but they are still foreigners. They do not get the pink IC, neither do they have our passport, the red passport, right? From speculating on the HDB, and so that HDB remains stable and not chiong, like what we are seeing right now. Over $1 million HDB sell, right? And capital gain tax for private properties can be set for foreigners, right, as well as those properties, right, which are in excess of $2 million or $3 million. High value property, private property transaction. If you are lower value, then you exempt the tax. It's okay, right? So imagine we on and on we see Good Class Bungalow transacted $50 million, $30 million, now $88 million. How much tax will the government get? If the government get more tax income from all these transactions, it may not need to actually increase our GST. That is the concept. And it prevents people from speculating in properties, especially in a small country state like Singapore, where we have limited land. And then rich, wealthy people, foreigners especially, will come into Singapore and treat us like a ATM, right? ATM machine like that. Because 需要保价 one. In the mid-term or long-term, you buy a property 20 years, right? You can be like Shamugan like that. Why? 12% return. Wow. How to get 12% return? Even your HDB cannot get 12% return per year, compounding rate for 20 years, right? That is actually the concept of why we should have capital gain tax. Maybe not a blanket tax, but in a more specific way to prevent rent-seeking economic activities, which will include property rent out, right? Renting out of properties, that's rent seeking. Right? It's easy. It's very easy for a small economy, state economy like Singapore or Hong Kong, the rent seeking economy building up, and it's not healthy. Why is not healthy? We come to this issue because it will affect how our public housing prices. Whether you like it or not, condo prices or HDB resale prices, right, which involve PRs buying in the resale market, will actually push up pricing. Right, will actually push up pricing in the resale market, and it will push up BTO prices, new HDB prices. And we have a problem of fertility rate. It has been proven in some studies, right? There is a very strong causation, like Korea. They found that high property prices actually affect fertility rate. It's a no-brainer. People will ask, come and challenge me. Oh, do you have a data to show this and that? When you need every data for everything and you lose your common sense, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It means you don't have real life experiences, or you don't really live the normal life that most people live, and you do not really understand the ground, understand the aspiration of the young people, young couples. We have been young before, right? We know what are the difficulties that we face when we're young, right? When we want to form our family unit, right? What is lacking and what is a deterrence, right? And today we have this interesting report that put up, from a PMO Prime Minister Office, which actually the population department is actually in charge by Indrani. Right? It's a strange part, but Indrani is not married, I think, and she doesn't have any children, but he's in charge of population and looking into fertility rate. I don't know how they do this, but this is so. Okay, so it says, by 2030, we might have more citizen death than newborn citizens. Actually, I can tell you, if this excess death problems is not solved, the mystery is not solved, we might actually have more death than new birth, right? By next year, by 2 years or 3 years down the road. We are actually very close to it already, right? By the statistics that we are seeing. I've actually explained this before. when we are looking at SSF, right? The net right now is about 4,000. If I remember correctly, my memory phone don't fuse me. Slightly more than 4,000. That means the number of newborns, right, exceeded the death by 4,000, which means that we have about 30,000 or so. No, 32,000, 34,000 newborn. 32 to 34. No, no, 31. 31,000 or 32,000, about that. Then we have nearly about this newborn. We have nearly about 27,000 deaths. 26,600, 26,088, 880, something like that. 888. A very nice number, actually, right? Last year. That was last year data. This year, I do not know. It might drop further. If I talk about this, I will blame the vaccine again, but I'll guide Hoffman again, but never mind. Because there are actually more and more studies that comes to say that actually the vaccine have certain strange correlation to low fertility rate is in highly vaxxed countries. Okay, why is a correlation? I do not know, because by the biodistribution, it accumulates at the ovaries of the women more. Right? If you have been following my talk, where I show you the biodistribution of the mRNA vaccines, three interesting places that this will accumulate is actually in the liver, the spleen, and the ovaries of women. Okay, and we suspect, or rather, a lot of experts, researchers are suspecting that this might actually affect fertility rate and all that. Yet to be confirmed, but the truth will come out in time to come. But never mind, this is only part of the equation. What I'm going to talk about is the BTO policies. BTO policies comes into play in 2001. Right? Because we face a dot-com bust, right? Boom and bust. In 1995 to 1999, there was a boom because of asset enhancement. People are happily selling off their HDB and buy resale so that to earn, so-called to monetize their HDB and all that, so they'll boom. But when the dot-com bust comes, or the financial crisis in 1999 came, 1997 to 1999, that period, right? There was a HDB glut. That means less people have money, youngsters have money to buy HDB, new HDB flats. So by 2001, PAP is a knee-jerk effect from PAP government. It says, wow, I have so many flats cannot sell. How? Because it will cause a certain financial burden, so-called, right? When you don't sell all, sell in time. So they came out with a BTO system. The BTO means that, I do not build in excess. When you order, then I build. It's just like you go to hawker center. Hawker center can lah. But when you come and buy my tea, my coffee, then I go and brew lah. Right? Sometimes it's already brewed. It's just poured out only. Right? But the time lag is actually very short. Just 1 or 2 minutes, you can get your coffee and tea. But property is different. You go and order, and you start. Then you go and start to build. You wait 3 to 5 years. Right? Now I think some of the BTOs are 5 years or 4 years. So imagine, I have explained this before. If you do this, BTOs, most of the buyers, I'm not saying all, are young couples who want to form their family unit. You ask them to wait for 3 to 5 years. If they pator after graduation, pator 2-3 years, 27 years, or 30 years old, then they decided to get married. By the time they get their new flats, over 30 years old already. Women have a biological clock, So if you have your first baby after 35 years old, it actually is a higher risk, right? Higher risk for women to have babies after 35. It's not good. It's considered as a 高龄产妇 lah, right? Right? Uh, it's not healthy, not good for both the babies and the mother, so called, right? For the first baby. Then even if you have that, give birth in the early 30s, how many babies can you have? Because the prime of giving birth for women is actually below 40 years old. Although my mom actually gave birth to me when she was 41, 42, right? But that is not very common, even in olden days. Okay, so it is just a simple mathematics. The earlier you get married, or earlier you live together as a couple, right? The probability of you giving birth to more babies are higher. It's a no-brainer. People ask me for data. My goodness. Then in modern days, it's very simple. If you ask around, people are telling me, oh, couples can actually stay with their parents, what? Then give birth. Yes, but how many modern couples actually uh, like to live with their parents with less privacy and to make babies? Very, very rare nowadays. Last time maybe, right? Now it's very rare. Cultural norms have changed, right? So the BTO policies is the problem, the root problem of low total fertility rate. Right? Well, PAP ministers may want to debate on this with me. I'm welcome. Right? I can actually do a very simple survey of young couples. Very simple. And some people actually told me they have the data maybe, but I have to go into parliament and ask them, right? How many couples, right, when they register for a BTO, by the time even before they get their keys, their TOP, they break away, right, and give up the BTO flat. How many per year do we have? That is an interesting part. You wait, wow, 闲了, then you break up. So this is a problem. And people try to give all sort of excuses and say this is not a problem. It is a problem. If you understand human nature, you understand youngsters, social norms, you understand that this is the problem. Not the main, may not be the only problem, but it's one of the main problems of low fertility rate. Right? In fact, what we are seeing is the PAP's policies to give incentives for people to give birth are quite pathetic. Baby bonus, right? Parental leaves, and all that. It doesn't solve the root problems. There's only two root problems. One is late marriage due to BTO system. Okay. Second is high cost of living. Right? And whatever tax incentive a PAP is giving, one of my friends was telling me, we just have coffee. He said that his wife, they have actually 4 children. His wife was complaining, I have 4 children, but the tax incentive, tax deductible only applies for first child only. I said, is it? Maybe second child have, but third child and fourth child no leh. That was the complaint. So you want to encourage people to have more babies, then why not give more children than you have, the more deductibles you should get? Very simple, right? So it doesn't make sense to him when they have 4 children, they don't get more tax deductible, tax rebates, and so on. Right? In fact, if your children are under 21 or 18, you don't get more CDC vouchers, so to speak. But you have to buy, you have to spend more money on the education, milk powder, and all that. So you have missed the mark. I do not know lah. They have been trying the same formulas, just tweak here and tweak there, give slightly more and other, but it doesn't solve the problem. One of the way of solving the problem is give subsidies to milk powder lah. Right? Simple what? Well, milk powder is very expensive, compared to 2003. During the formation years of my first daughter, when I still have to buy milk powder, it was $18, 20 plus dollars, almost $20 plus for the good brands. Now, when I look at it, wow, 50, wow, 40 plus $50, $60. My goodness. My goodness. Eh? It's not cheap. Really not cheap to have babies. I do not know what PAP is thinking. Maybe they are putting the wrong priorities. They thought that they can solve the population issue. Building the core to them is about giving more new citizenship, increasing the population. That is not the case. The core must come from locally born Singaporeans, right? Because only a local born Singaporeans will rooted, have the roots, right, being planted deep down into our cultural perspective, strengthen our culture and the national identity. Giving new citizenship will cause more social problems later on. Not I say one, right? Hong Sui Sen say it, right? Lim Kim Sang also say it, LKY also say it. No, not Lim Kim Sang, I think Goh Keng Sui say it. Right? Our pioneers, our forefathers, like Goh Keng Sui, Hong Sui Sen, even LKY recognize the potential issue over reliance on foreign immigrations to supplement our citizenship. We have to think, we should not give up. We have to think of more effective measures to solve the problem. And the first part of a problem solving is to identify the problem. I don't think they even know what is a problem. I don't think they even know that BTOs is the problem. That's the worst part of it. Right? If you do not even know what is the problem, how are you going to solve the problem? Right? So when you have this BTO system, a delay of 3 to 5 years for the formation of a family unit, to have their young people to have their privacies, right? How would you expect young couples to have 3 or more children when they're already 35 by the time they move into a BTO flat, their first BTO flat after their renovation and all that? We have to need a policy shift to promote earlier marriages and family formation. This is the root. Right? Last time they did mention about, people are getting married late and they start to have the SDU. Maybe now SDU no more. Right? I do not know whether still have SDU or not. Social uh, uh, don't know what lah. SDU, I never joined the SDU. It's actually a social network for young people, right, especially the graduates, right, poly grads and university grad, to get together to know each other so that to give more opportunities for them to know each other and to get married. Right? Not really matching, but a social activity unit, right? But it seems that they have given up on that. They even come up with BTO system, which aggravate the problem of late marriages. Can you imagine that? Right? Now, when we talk about this, people they have this funny thinking. It's a very controversial. Right? If I raise this, people will shoot me. Okay. Even for singles, why would you force them to only have the opportunity to buy a resale flat or for a BTO, restrict them to the smaller unit when they reach 35? I don't know. Sometimes I find that this policy might be actually a problem itself. Some youngsters prefer, or I would rather say that sometimes when youngsters have an opportunity to come out to live on their own, right? When they have their own privacy, they might have more opportunities to socialize, to have a more active social life as compared to them living with their parents. So it doesn't make sense. Maybe okay lah, 30 years old maybe okay, right? But 35, I think it's a bit too late. Right? That's my opinion. Right? I have no real solution for that. But to me, 35 years old is a bit too late. If we can reduce it to 30 years old, I think that's fair. Right? I think that's fair. But this is a basic issue that we have to solve. How to get the singles and the youngsters to get married earlier and not to give up on that and to say, oh, never mind, we just import and give new citizenship. I don't think that will solve the problem. That is the worst policy option to be considered, right? Oh, and young couples should not be penalized when upgrading to a bigger flat. For example, when you want to, the concept is very simple. Why I come up with this family kickstart program, the HDB, the housing kickstart program for young couples. When you are young, your earning powers may be very limited. Naturally, what you just graduated from poly or universities or schools, right? You just get to start to work. You don't earn that much. Definitely, your earning power or even you can't even pay, right? Save enough to pay for the deposit, huge deposit for the normal BTO flats like what we have right now. Like $500,000 BTO flats will require 20%. How much already? Like 10,000. 500,000. Whoa, no, 20% is 100,000. Right? How do you afford that? So that is one of the key issue if you want to encourage people to form their family unit earlier. You must set a new culture mindset that it's okay for anyone, for any couples to start with a small flat unit first, right? Maybe 2-room flat, right? With a bedroom, right? With a decent living room, and that's all. Right? Or maybe if you want to be better, is a 2.5 room with a study room, small study room, because most probably both are working. Okay. Now, having such a small size room will also cut down on the cost, the pricing of the flat for a starter. That's why it's called a Kickstart program. Now, we must stand in the shoes of youngsters in this perspective. Affordability, real affordability. And if we want to encourage people to actually get married early, they must have privacy, right? To make babies. But as youngsters, they might not have the buying power because they just come into the job market. Then you sell them cheap lah. Don't include the land cost. Simple as that. Right? But when they have babies, we're happy. If they want to upgrade to 3-room flat, 4-room flat, or even 5-room flat, they should not be penalized. You see, the problem is this: we only give people to buy one BTO or subsidized flat. Then later on we say, oh, we don't. You were after your first right. Even people, even youngsters, who put their names together with their parents due to all sort of reasons, right? Then when they want to get married, they come out. They want to buy their own new flat. Oh, you're not eligible for subsidies or grants or all that. That is nonsense. Why? Because the flat is basically the parents. They are just helping them to finance the flat for whatever circumstances, right? So a lot of things have to change. You set all these obstacles. By the time people went through the obstacle course, they sian liao. Better not get married and buy a new flat, right? So for this kickstart, they should not be penalized when they try to upgrade when they have babies. They can start with a 2-room flat, cheap 2-room flat, under $100,000. Fine. Affordable, really affordable. Like $80,000 small flat, for example. Get started. And once they have the babies and get a better paid jobs, because when they work for some years, their seniority, they start to get paid higher or change job, a better job. They want to upgrade. Don't penalize them. It should be encouraged. Why? As long as you have newborn, have more children, they should be encouraged. We don't discourage them by, oh, you cannot get this one, cannot get these subsidies. Right? This is the concept of my plan, or rather the People's Power Party plan. The solution is a family kickstart program and of affordable 2-room flats for couples under 30 years old. So at building costs, right, construction costs, right, without the land price included. Can the government afford it? Of course it can afford it. Right? And these flats, when this couple upgrade themselves, when they have more babies, when they start to have more babies, financially more stable, right? These flats can actually sell back to the government. And the government can use this flat again to provide for the next generation of young couples. Now, some people ask me, hey, then the valuation how? They're not going to earn from this HDB flat. Hey, you buy cheap, you sell cheap lah. HDB is a home. It's not supposed to be an investment asset. The bad thing about PAP is that they have changed the cultural mindset of all Singaporeans by the stupid asset enhancement scheme, which is illogical. I explained before, and Lawrence Wong have agreed with me. It cannot be an investment asset when your value of your properties is going to drop to zero when the 99-year lease expired. It can never be so, right? Don't always give people this myth, right? This unsubstantiated dream of buying HDB can earn money. Right? Buy and sell HDB can earn money. It's stupid. Only the second property that you own can be considered as an investment asset, not the first property, especially HDB property, which is supposed to be your home, not an investment. We have to get back to the basic. We have to get people attuned to the same concept again. The HDB is your home. It's not for speculation. It's not for monetize for investment returns. And before I start this, I was talking about capital gain tax, right? For foreigners, for the PRs to buy and sell property, HDB. Why is that so? Because I do not want them to take advantage and make this into a system for them to game the system to treat them as a speculative assets or investment asset. It's not going to do us good, not for our future generation. We must recognize HDB as a home. Call a spade a spade. Don't give people a false dream, false aspiration that you can make $1 million, $2 million out of a property transaction. And that is what everybody is doing. Spending over $1 million over a property, HDB. My goodness. These people are jialat, They don't really understand what is an investment asset and what is not an investment asset. Right? But their action will actually affect everyone in a very bad way, a very bad impact, which I will discourage. Right? This is our plan, basically. If we want to truly support young families, we have to address the core issues. Really affordability of housing. Not calculate here, not calculate there. Right? Don't use median household income. It's meaningless. Why? When they use a median household income, they use the overall median household income of Singaporeans, which is irrelevant for young couples who just started their job, because they are at the lower end of the median income. Right? They're way far below the median household income to them. They are the one who are buying the properties, the new BTOs. Right? That is an irrelevant comparison. Context is very important. Right? And of course, there are other things of cost of raising children, like childcare. Childcare fees are very high, although they keep saying they're giving subsidies and all that. I'll explain why. It is there is a gap. That's for another day, right? And providing a real pathway for young couples to start a family early. There's no other way. If PAP continues with this BTO system, we as a nation, in the midterm and the long term, will be extinct. And that is the truth and the only truth of a prediction that will come true. Right? If you like our ideas, please support us. Comment, and join us. Follow us also through our website. Our website is actually peoplespowerparty.sg, right? And you can actually join us through that. You'll receive more regular updates right now because we're in a better mode right now of all the policy options that we are providing. Don't say we do not have policy ideas, right? It is untrue. And I'm proud to say Goh Ming Singh is the one who knows HDB issues and housing issues much more than anyone else, right, in the political arena. And I'm the only one who have forced PAP to abandon the asset enhancement scheme, which actually called asset enhancement scam, right? Because there is no way for HDB to be a so-called investment asset because of the lease decay. They have to abandon it. You'll never hear PAP talk about this anymore. They were talking about this throughout the 1990s, throughout the 2000, yeah, early 2000. I'm the only one who rejected that. I said this is nonsense, right? It's totally nonsense. And I will talk about the CPF scheme, which is linked to HDB. That is another. You cannot talk about CPF without talking about HDB. You cannot talk about HDB without talking about CPF because they are linked, right? I'll talk about that and how it will affect your retirement plan. And you have noticed our Facebook, my Facebook and the People's Power Party Facebook, we are starting to put out all the problems identified, the key problems. There are many problems in politics, okay? There are many problems, but I find that the youngsters, in terms of access to affordable, really affordable housing to their pay, their salary scale, is important. That's why we have a Kickstart program for them, right? And for those who are retiring, right, you cannot expect people to use HDB to monetize HDB for retirement. You can do that, but that should not be the primary aim or primary mechanism for Singaporeans to do that. You should not promote that. That's bo pian, then you do it. Why? Because after so many years you work so hard, imagine, but when you come to old age, you don't have enough money for retirement, you have to sacrifice your privacy or even sell your HDB without a roof, go to JB and leave the country for retirement. Are you kidding me or not? Is that the culture? Is that a norm, cultural norm that we want to promote for our citizens? If that is so, I tell you, nobody will have a strong national identity in it. Why? It's very simple. What? This is just like a hotel to me. You know, it's not a country to me. When they need me, right? When I need them, and the country need me, I just buy a HDB and stay here and work and work and work like a horse. When I'm old, they don't take care of me. I have to take care of myself. I just sell all my properties and go somewhere else. Then where is the loyalty? Where is a strong sense of belonging to this land? How are you to cultivate that strong spirit of nationality? You can't. Because if everyone knows that at the end of the day, the end game is to leave Singapore and to stay in Johor, then what nonsense are you talking about strong sense of belonging to a country that will have really long-term impact on our national identity and sustainability as a country. And I can tell you, new citizens may feel that, oh, when it's time to leave, they will leave. Why? It's a norm to them. They left their country to come to Singapore because Singapore is good, right? Can earn money, right? Can game the system. Or when they're old, they go back to their own countries to retire. It's easy for them to do that, but not for locally born Singaporeans. When we talk about a country, the survivability of a country, it's not just about the numbers of citizenship. It's not just about the number of workers we are lacking. It's not just about the economy. It's about how many Singaporeans will feel that they are Singaporeans and will take this land seriously, not just a hotel. I thank you. And please support us for the next election by donating to the People's Power Party Election Fund. We need all the support, right? Because we are fighting a giant machinery with a whole support of the PAs. Right? Where did they get all these activities done? Is through a People's Association funds. And how much the PA have a budget? 1 billion per year. We need all the funds that we need to give them a good fight. And of course, only when people can take issues seriously, to debate in Parliament, to tell them, no, you are wrong about how to deal with low fertility rate and the survivability of the country. It's not just about the numbers. It's about the heart linked to this land. Thank you for watching and good night.